Welcome, everyone. Hello to all the watchers and viewers of this eventful session. We have arranged another session for the discretion of our mentees and the applicants in order to better guide them into their future studies. So, I'm your host, I'm Nafis Alam. I'm the program coordinator, and we'll be listening to your queries and questions over the email, and time to time I'll be arranging some of these eventful sessions. So today we are really lucky to have Dr. Niaz Chowdhury with us. He is our co-founder and co-CEO. So Dr. Niaz has 17 years of experience working in various capacities. So it is delightful to hear from his achievement and his endeavors for higher studies. To talk more about Dr. Niaz, he pursued his PhD degree from the University of Glasgow and has been a government of Ireland scholarship holder at the University of Dublin, where he studies a research master's and later a postgraduate certificate in 21st centuries teaching and learning. He also has more than 6 years of postdoctoral research experience at the Open University in the UK and joined the University of Oxford later this year to pursue an MSc in educational assessment that is designed only for professionals. So without further ado, I would give the floor to Dr. Niaz to start to share his side of the story and guide us and our mentees in the way that they can get to their desired destination.
Thank you, Nafis. I hope I'm completely audible and we have our audience joined. I know that this is an odd time. It's like a half two in the UK, and most of our participants they are from the UK. So many are working and they have their like job, class, and a lot of things. I heard from our support team that they replied back to them and they mentioned that this timing is not very good for them. I received a request that in future when we have this kind of session, we can, if we arrange this kind of session like over weekend and after 8:30 or 9 p.m. in the evening, that will be good for everyone. So
Yeah.
I agree with our support team, and in future, definitely we will do that. It's actually good for me as well because I have a very busy schedule, and during the
Yes,
daytime.
so that's why we tried to put it on your time, so that you can come and give your valuable time to us, and at the same time we can send it to our applicants, the things that we will discuss in this event.
Sure. So over the weekend after 9, maybe we'll try to have these kind of sessions arranged at on Saturdays after 9. So informally, I'm just telling you this. So let's get started. So first of all, Nafis, thank you very much for your kind words. You described my background. This is something that I like doing, education, and I have been working in the UK and Ireland in the education sector for many years. For more than 15 years I have been here, to be very precise, since 2007. I myself studied a research master's. I did a PhD, and currently I'm the director of education and research at the London School of Leadership, Investment and Technology. So I believe that I have some experience that I can share with our participant, and those experience will help them make their mind whether or not they're going for research masters, a PhD, or they want to do something else completely different apart from a research master's and PhD. So this session is particularly designed to inform our participants that whether or not a research master's will be suitable for them. And then I will discuss how we can help them to apply for a research master's. You already, our participants, if you are already here, or you are listening to this video on our YouTube channel, or my support team, they sent you the video, whichever way you are listening to me, I can assure you that you are in good hands. When we heard that many people are having difficulties submitting applications to for a PhD position or for a research master's position, particularly because they are struggling to write a research proposal, or their SOP is not up to the mark. So we decided to launch this document preparation session for them. So if you apply through us, so this is basically a condition that when we circulated the ad, we also mentioned it. This is a condition that you have to apply through us, because we are offering you this service for free. But the cost that incur, because there will be a team working here, so we have to manage that team, and our institution, London School of Leadership, Investment and Technology, will pay them the cost, and will claim that cost from the university you join. So it's a bit complicated, but we modeled it in such a way that it doesn't cost you a penny, but you have to apply through us. So that's basically the only cost that you have to bear. But if you apply through us, I can assure you that you can submit a very strong application, and there will be a high chance that you get an offer through us rather than from any agency. Because I saw many agencies who are struggling at the moment is because research degree is completely different ball game. This is not just like a top master's or a bachelor degree. It involves a lot of different and difficult elements that I'm going to explain you very soon. So because of those elements, different agencies, they are finding it very difficult. I'm pretty sure few of you already visited several agencies and then came to us. So we are an institution, we are not an agency, and when we will help you to prepare your documents, we do not look at the universities. There are plenty of universities we talked, and we told them that we will send students there, but we do not have any contract with the universities. So we have no obligation to send students to a particular university, where the agencies, they represent universities, so they have the obligation. So they tend to push students to apply to some universities, like some specific universities. I totally get it, because they have their contract with them, and that's the reason that they are doing it. But for us, we approached many universities, and they said, okay, if you have students, if you have applicants, you send those applications to us, and if students get accepted, then they will pay us the time that we are going to spend to prepare your document. So for us, it's a win-win situation. We don't mind getting paid this way. If a student, they decide not to pursue their degree after getting the offer, that's all right, because there is no pressure. As long as you are coming to us and we are trying to get an offer for you, I generally think that this is a social cause that we are doing. So if we can somehow, we don't have any intention to actually make a huge profit out of it. If we can somehow just overcome the labor that our teachers who will be guiding you in this process, we can actually claim their hours. As long as that's fine, I'm happy. As the co-CEO and co-founder, I have the responsibility to report to our board as well. But this is something that I told our board, that as long as we can recover that money, I'm happy. But I'm really very much interested to continue with this particular initiative, because I genuinely want to help applicants who are struggling to write their research proposal, SOP, prepare a good CV for a research master's or a PhD degree. So that's basically the background. And having said that, again, I can reassure you that you are in good hands if you stay with us. you won't be disappointed. So without any further delay, let's get to our main discussion. The presentation slide I have, I'm now I'll start presenting it. And if you have any question, please take a note of it, so that at the end of the presentation, I will start taking your questions. And if you have any question, I'll be very happy to answer it live here today. So, what is a research master's? It's a very good question. In the UK, research masters wasn't very popular. It's for a reason. UK is very much like a country that used to offer thought masters. So research masters wasn't something very traditional. In the UK, we used to have thought masters, and that's why generally we don't say thought masters, we say masters. So masters, and then there is a research kind of masters which is called MPhil. But again, MPhil is a bit complicated because the ancient universities, they have their MPhils which is in a different way, and those are taught courses. But in general, universities that are established after 19th century, though in those universities the MPhil is a research degree mostly. So UK has got that masters and then MPhil and then PhD. So this research masters thing was mostly missing. There were some Embrace courses, and those Embrace courses, they used to have like 4 courses and the thesis, and this kind of Embrace courses used to be there for a long time. Even I can recall in 2007 I got accepted for an Embrace from Queen Mary University of London, where they had 4 courses and the research, and I also saw several other Embrace courses, like at University of Strathclyde, where I mentored few people who joined there. But overall, Embrace or research masters wasn't something very popular here. But recently, you know that there is a change in the immigration policy, and government said only students who are doing research-focused courses, they can bring their dependents, and that's the reason why UK universities are now offering more and more research masters. And if you visit university profiles, you will see that almost everyone is creating a page for research masters, and they are circulating it through ad and other ways. The reason being, they want to attract those students who want to study research focused degree but not PhD. Again, at this point, I just like to mention that many of you are here in this session today because you want to do a PhD. So everything I'm going to discuss today in this particular presentation will cover research masters and also cover PhD. So it's research masters can be considered a small subset of PhD. So everything I'm going to discuss will be applicable at a large scale for PhD. So you are not losing anything, but when I'm talking about research masters, you get to know the background of research masters, and you get to know like how it originated and the practice that UK universities are adopting at the moment in the UK. So when that policy came into effect from this January, universities, they started offering research masters, and these research masters are slightly different than Embrace. Some universities are still maintaining their Embrace, where they have 4 modules followed by a large thesis. But this research masters is basically a master's that will cover only a research project. So this is very much like PhD. So you have this research master's degree where you'll be part of a research group, and you'll have your desk. I'm not completely sure about it at the moment, but possibly that's the plan that universities will adopt, because this is the trend in Ireland, where I studied a research master's. I had my desk and it was a 9 to 5 job. But if your supervisor is flexible, he or she can actually tell you that, okay, you don't have to come every day, or you have to stay 9 to 5, or sometime, like I used to go like at 12, and I used to work till 9. But it depends on you and your supervisor and your relationship. If your supervisor agrees this way, then you can actually do that. So this is applicable for PhD as well. So you'll have your desk and you go there and you study, you do your research, you do whatever you do there. So it can be a laboratory, like on your desk you have a computer and you can do lab work, you can write a research paper, or if it is a pathological subject, health related subject, you may have your laboratory, and there you can do your experiments and so on. So these research masters will have, it can be like for 1 year or for 2 years, depending on like how your university is offering the course. Some universities are saying that the masters will be like 1 year, and then if the students, they cannot finish it within 1 year, they can extend it for another year. Some universities are saying they can extend it for another 6 months or 4 months, and there are some universities are saying you'll do your research for a year, and then there will be 6 months or 4 months of writing up period when you write your thesis. So it depends, again, it depends on the universities that you are attending, the structure of the masters. So there is no hard and fast rule at the moment in the UK. Different universities are proposing the different structure, but I believe within 2 to 3 years, so there will be a standard research masters kind of course there, where most universities will follow that standard. But at the moment, there is no such standard, and universities are proposing research masters out of their own own policy, own design, and own market research. They are offering their research masters. So exactly what I just said in brief, that is that you can see here. So some universities are calling it embrace, as I said earlier, but that number is not very big at the moment. Rather, they are calling it masters by research, or MSc by research, or M by research, and so on, this kind of term. The screenshot that you see here, I took it from University of South Wales. University of Huddersfield, they are also promoting their research masters, and they have a very good landing page where they are showing details of their research masters. I will ask my support team to share all the links with you, so that you can also do your own research and go through those links, so that you get to know how those universities are offering. But overall, you can see that they are expecting you to attend 35 hours per week, and then you have to submit a thesis that will be up to 40,000 words. So this 40,000 words is a huge amount of literature work. So the body of the work is very big. So when you decide to do a research master's, you must tell yourself that you are prepared for this. You need to have good academic background, you need to have good research background, and also you need to have a good writing up background, like you know how to write academic writing. So you need to have that skill as well. So otherwise you will struggle. So this is basically my first warning, that if you are not very good at academic writing, and if you're not very good at research, and you don't have patience, then research masters is not your cup of tea. Forget about PhD. PhD is basically an ultra version of research masters. Those listening to me at the moment and are planning to do a PhD, I must remind you that PhD is even harder. So the PhD thesis will be even bigger. And during PhD, they will expect you, your supervisor will expect you to have some publications. So you need to publish in journals, in conferences, and you need to attend different conferences, present your work, and so on. So for PhD, it's a bit more hectic and it's a bit more extensive. But for research masters, it's as I said earlier, it's a subset of PhD, so you don't have to uh, publish your work during your masters. If you want to do that after your masters, your supervisor will always welcome you. They will work closely even after finishing your masters. You will see that they will continue working with you to get your thesis published in journals or conferences. They generally do it, but during your study period, you are not expected to have journal or conference papers. But when it comes to PhD, then your supervisor will expect you to have at least 2 to 3 journal or conference papers. Sometimes, if your supervisor is very demanding, then maybe she or he will ask you to have at least 5 publications. So this is something that you must keep in your mind before you decide whether or not you want to study a research master's or you want to study a PhD. Now, this research masters is suitable for whom? So who is basically the ideal candidate for this kind of research masters or PhD? Well, first of all, if you have a keen interest in research and you want to establish your career in research, then basically this is for you. That's for sure. That you want to join an institution and you want to get involved in research, then definitely this kind of masters is for you. If you want to become an academic, then again, this kind of masters is for you. If you want to work at an advanced level of an organization where decision making and policy has got relationship with research, then also the research degree is for you. For those who are trying to secure a research master's position, if they have the intention to do a PhD, then that research masters is good for them, because the research masters will prepare them for their PhD. I saw it in my life. When I studied for a research masters, I learned a lot of things that helped me to complete my PhD. Within 3 years, I completed my PhD research, and then I joined my postdoc. Before completing my PhD, I joined my postdoc, and I then wrote the thesis after completing. So at the University of Glasgow, we had like a 1 year writing a period. So you can take between 6 months and 1 year writing a period. So I decided to go for a 1 year writing a period, because at that time I was already heavily involved in my postdoc. So from 9 to 5, I was doing postdoctoral research, and then during the evening, I was writing my thesis. So it was very stressful for me. So I decided to go for 1 year writing a period. So within 3 years, I finished my research. Because I had that experience during my research masters, it prepared me very well, and that's why within exactly 3 years I completed my research. I moved on to my postdoc, and then while doing a postdoc, I completed my thesis. I submitted my thesis with flying colors. I passed my thesis, and then I continued working on my postdoc. I worked for 6.5 years at the Open University in the UK for my postdoc, and following my postdoc, I led an Innovate UK project as the principal investigator and AI lead. It was an 18-month project, so 18-month research project. So all these things happened because I was very well prepared at the Trinity College, University of Dublin during the research masters period. So research masters is very rewarding. If you have this kind of plan in your mind for future, then it will definitely will pay you back massively. And last but not least, even if you want to go for establishing a startup, for example, at the moment, I'm working with multiple startups. So if you want to establish startup, research degree will help you massively, because those research degree will help you understand hands-on experiences, help you understand like how exactly things work that often taught masters doesn't give us. So these research masters degrees will definitely help you to explore the real world better. So in future, if you have maybe you are studying research masters in food and nutrition research, and in future if you uh, try to establish a startup, maybe a food related startup, for example, you can bring your knowledge, your experience, and expertise out of that research masters to that startup. So if you have this kind of plan, then also your research masters will help you massively. So again, you see that some of the things that I already mentioned is already here listed here. So particularly the research masters is excellent preparation for PhD study. I explained you from my experience and the skills you developed. All these things will massively help you. So these are basically benefits of studying a research masters. And if you are a PhD applicant listening to me at the moment, then I would say PhD is basically an ultra version of research master. So if you study PhD, maybe you don't have a research master's, but you are studying a PhD, then after your PhD, everything I said will be applicable for you as well. But generally, people after PhD, they tend to go for research work or different research laboratory they join, or they try to join like government departments that are dealing with policies, or they become academic. That's basically the most common routes for PhD graduates. However, again, you can see me. I'm a PhD graduate. I did postdoc, but still, I'm working with my startup because I can see there are huge potential that I can explore, and I build on those potential, and I can bring in my expertise into my startup. And that's why I'm running those multiple startups at the moment in the UK. So if you have that kind of plan after your PhD, you can actually do that. Now, entry requirements are a bit higher for research degree that compared to a top masters. So many universities I saw that they used to accept students at IL6 with IL6 at top masters level. But now those universities, they are saying that for research masters, they are they the students, they must have a IELTS score of 6.5. You can see here, this is from University of South Wales. So their top master student, even many students I mentored, they went there, and at that time I saw that those students who are having 6.0 no band less than 5.5, they are going there. But now for research masters, they strictly mention that it has to be 6.5. Apart from that, your academic background, academic qualification, and everything, they will carefully consider, and they will see whether or not you are a genuine student. So your academic background we cannot change, but what we can guide you, we can improve, is your research proposal. A student who is not genuine, a student who wants to just stay in the UK, they cannot write a good research proposal, they cannot write a good SOP. That's not possible. Now, unless he's a very good student and he wants to ruin his career in the UK by just staying here. Because good students, if you're a good student, if you're a serious student, UK will offer you a lot of opportunities. So I can see everywhere opportunities in the UK. That's the reason why I'm running my startups, multiple startups I'm currently running, and I'm a co-founder of multiple startups. So it is basically important that how you see yourself. So if you're a good student, definitely you will be able to write your research proposal and your SOP. My team will guide you, my team will help you to improve it further. If you are not a good student, but if we can actually show you the path so that you can get inspired and you can push yourself to become a good student. So maybe in the past you don't have good result. We can actually show you the path. We can help you write a good research proposal. We can help you write a good SOP so that you can submit a strong application to the universities. When admission committee they look at your application, they will see that, okay, maybe this student doesn't have a very good academic background, but the research proposal speaks for him. It's a good one, and his SOP shows his his interest and his motivation to pursue that research masters or PhD. So this is basically the area where we can work with you, we can help you, and we can improve your profile significantly so that you can get an offer from different universities. UK universities are accepting students at you can see that they have three different intakes, so they are accepting students at three different intakes. They have deadlines like 1st of May. This is for University of South Wales. For University of Huddersfield, I saw it's sometime in June, 3rd June or 7th June or something, but I don't remember it at the moment. But I already requested my team to identify all the deadlines so that they can share it with you. So you will see three different deadlines. Like one is at the end of October or at the end of September. Another is May, and then January, and so on. So these kind of deadlines you will give you some flexibility. So many of you are currently on your PSW, or you are on your graduate route visa, or you are a dependent of a graduate route visa holder. So your visa is going to expire, and maybe you want to join a research master's or a PhD. So what I would suggest you, first, talk to Nafis Alom, the course coordinator, this program coordinator. You already got his email address. He was there, and later I will again discuss it with Nafis regarding like how he can help you over email. You already have his email address. If not, I will ask Nafis to write you directly so that you can have his email address. So first, discuss with Nafis like which intake you are going to catch. So if you are going to catch September intake, then we have really very limited time on hand. It's very tight, and we have to make sure that we are giving you enough time so that we prepare your research proposal and SOP first draft very quickly. Once we prepare the first draft, we'll give it to you. You will review the first draft, you'll review the SOP research proposal, and then you send it back to us. I personally look at all the research proposal and all the SOPs. So your SOP, when Nafis and his team receives the SOP, they send it to me. Then I review your research proposal, I review your SOP, and then I give my feedback, and Nafis and his team will share those feedback with you. Now you can ask us this question, that how we are going to write research proposal for you, how we are going to write SOP for you. We have two information template. These information template will provide you the opportunity. It's a Microsoft Word document, and in this Word document, it's kind of a tabular format. In this Word document, we have some questions for you. What you have to do is you just have to answer those questions. Once you answer those questions, Nafis and Nafis's team will get to know about you, about your research interest, and based on those answers, they try to write the first draft of the research proposal and first draft of the SOP. Then they will show you the SOP, they will show you the research proposal. If you do not agree on certain things, which is quite normal, and it happened, we have been already working with other people, and they also disagreed with some part of their SOPs and research proposal. They then either modify, or they then request Nafis and Nafis team to modify those areas that they disagreed. And once they modify it, they then again, Nafis or Nafis team send it to you. And once both of you will be on the same page, you agreed upon the whole content, then Nafis will send those documents to me, and I will review, and I will again send back to Nafis, and eventually you get to know my feedback. So this way they finalize it. So it's kind of a back and forth process, but it is worth it, because if we go through this kind of process, like a 2 or 3 rounds of review of your research proposal, of your SOP, then you will see that the quality significantly increases, improves, and it will uplift your academic profile. When we submit an application for you, that application becomes certainly very strong. And we saw in the past that our applicants who are working closely with us, they tend to get offer relatively quickly. Then those who are not cooperating with us, or who are not cooperating with our request, they are basically the losers. So I want to tell you that if you cooperate with Nafis, because we are here to help you, our main intention is to help you. So if you follow what we are requesting you, if you follow what we are asking from you, if you write it, if you give it to us, then ultimate benefits will go to you. You will be basically the winner here. So my request to everyone who are listening, who are currently present here, to them, and who are listening this video, my request is to cooperate. Please cooperate with Nafis. And when Nafis send you an email, when Nafis try to communicate with you, please reply as soon as possible, so that we can prepare your documents relatively quickly, particularly for those who are applying for the September intake. Time is very, very limited at the moment. Time is your main constraint at the moment, so you have to act very fast. One last thing that I must touch upon, which is dependent. Many of you asked me earlier that whether or not research masters will enable you to bring your dependent in the UK, or those who are already in the UK, whether or not you can keep your dependent in the UK. The answer to this question is basically the course has to be a research-based higher degree or a PhD. If you're a PhD student, you can bring your dependent, or you can keep your dependent in the UK. If your course is a research-based higher degree, then again, you can keep your dependent with you in the UK, or you can bring your dependent from outside the UK. That research-based higher degree is basically a master's degree. On the University of Edinburgh website, if you visit their website, I didn't take their screenshot here, but I visited their website and I had the opportunity to talk to one of their officials, and they also confirmed that it is basically a research masters course that will enable research masters or above, which is PhD, that will enable students to bring their dependents in the UK, or to keep their dependents in the UK. So again, if it is research masters, yes, the answer is yes, you can keep your dependent, you can have your dependent here. If it is PhD, definitely you can keep your dependent with you in the UK. Recently, you must have seen this thing. It's a letter that was sent to Professor Brian Bell. So Professor Brian Bell is a professor from King's College London, and he is basically the chair of the Migration Advisory Committee. So he is basically the chief advisor to the Migration Committee, Migration board, or people who are involved in decision making of Migration Committee. So Professor Brian Bell, he received a letter recently from the Home Secretary, and the Home Secretary asked him to review the graduate visa route, because Home Secretary is concerned that whether or not the graduate visa route is good for the UK. So he wants to know certain things to Professor Bell, and he wrote this letter. And in this letter, he mentioned a few things, like any evidence of abuse of the route, including the route not being fit for purpose. So it's very bold question. that this whether or not this route is being abused, this is a question, and if whether or not it is fit for the purpose, that means they are seriously thinking whether or not they want to keep it. Who is using the route and from which universities and they graduated, and then different demographics, and also some other statistics that he requested to Professor Bell to give him. So he gave Professor Bell a timeline, which is 14th of May. During by 14th of May, they wanted to know whether or not graduate visa route is good for them. My understanding is this is something that from conservative governments. Migration and migration and immigration uh, committees who are responsible to oversee these activities. I saw in the past that they generally take this kind of initiative, and then within like 6 to 8 months they come to a decision. So basically they are again reviewing the graduate visa route, so maybe they are going to bring some sort of changes. So that change may come within like 6 to 8 months or a year, depending on the UK election also. So if there is a Labour government in power, then it is likely not to it's likely that the change will not take place. But if the conservative government they come to power, then definitely they will bring some changes. Now we all know that conservative government, they will not be able to come to the power. However, if before the election they want to do something, maybe that's the reason why they have set that 14th May deadline. If they want to do something, like they want to recommend something for the future government, they will do that. But I don't think any change will hit the UK immigration immediately. So if you are applying for September intake, without any doubt, you are safe. If you are applying for January intake, still, I think you will be safe. People who are applying for May intake, they may have some sort of hit. They may get some sort of hit out of those studies. People who will apply for next September intake, which is basically a full year, we see from this September, there could be some sort of changes in policies. However, having said that, I have that strong feeling that those who are applying for research masters and PhD, they will not be affected. This is just an assumption I'm sharing, but I'm sharing this assumption based on my experience and observation. I have been in the UK for a long time. I have been in the UK and Ireland even for a long, for 17 years. So I saw how these process works. This process worked in the past, so I believe that they will keep research masters and PhD separate. Is because when there are a lot of red tapes for tier 2 visa and all other things, they kept PhD graduates separate. Because I had tier 2 visa, and even before completing my PhD, I moved to tier 2 visa and I started my postdoc. And at that time, I saw that they have a very easy routes for tier 2 visa, because they for PhD holders, because they wanted to keep PhD graduates in the country. They do not want to lose them, and that's the reason why they kept those rules, separate rules for the same tier 2 visa for PhD holders. I enjoyed different kind of rules, and other people who didn't have PhD at that time, they faced different rules, harsh rules during their tier 2 visa application. So this is my observation, that even if something happened, those who are applying for research masters and those who are applying for PhD, they are likely to be immune of those changes. Again, there is no guarantee. I'm just telling it out of my hunch and assumption. But in future we will see, and if we publish this video on YouTube, maybe I will make another video and refer to this video that a year ago I shared this assumption. But we will see whether or not I'm wrong or right. But those who are applying for September or January, they are likely to be unaffected completely. So those are basically the main thing. And now the reality check. You need to have a proposal that we are going to help you writing. So this is basically the first challenge, and many of you already experienced those challenges. That's the reason why you joined our this initiative, the document prep initiative. So the first challenge. Second challenge is crafting an effective academic CV. Nafis and his team will help you massively with doing that. Third channel is how to ask for a recommendation letter. So we generally advise you how to ask for a recommendation letter to your supervisor, former supervisor, and how sometimes supervisor, they write it themselves. Sometimes they say, give me some information or give me a template. So we'll help you with that too. And fourth challenge is finding a research supervisor. I'm going to arrange another separate session with you where I'm going to discuss how you're going to find a research supervisor. I recently, last week to be very precise, I contacted several universities in the UK. I had some connections. I talked to their admission teams, and they mentioned that some universities, they are accepting applications without any supervisor. So what you can do is you can apply and then they will assign you to a supervisor. But if they also mentioned that if you have a supervisor, it is likely that you get a quicker decision, because when you have your supervisor, you get a decision relatively straightforward. Supervisor will forward it to the admission committee, and admission committee will look at your application, and they agree. If they decide to give you an offer, they will give you an offer. So finding a supervisor process will not consume time there. But some universities, for example, Remote University, they say they don't accept direct PhD applications. I'm still unsure about their research master's application, but for PhD, they do not accept direct PhD application. So what is indirect PhD application? A student must have a supervisor. So once a student have a supervisor, they can then submit an application, and the application will have the mention of the supervisor. Only after a supervisor informally accepts a student, then the student can submit an application. And the third application I noticed, for example, from Coventry, they mentioned that they are following structured PhD. It's for PhD. They are following structured PhD. So if you search Google, you'll see that most of the links are coming from Ireland, like from Trinity College, University of Dublin, from University of Limerick. The reason being, in Ireland, I saw in 2009 when I was about to leave my master's. At that time, Ireland suddenly introduced the structured PhD thing, and it's basically instead of 3 years, that PhD becomes 4 years, and in this PhD they introduce some courses. So it's very much like the US, but not exactly like US. Rather, in the US you have 5 years of PhD, and first 2 years most students, they take courses. So here, first year you will take courses. So they follow the traditional approach of the US PhD in the structured PhD. So the time will be 4 years, and within that 4 years you will do your thesis, research work, you write your thesis, and also you do your courses. Some universities, they will offer you extra writing up period, maybe for 6 months or maybe for 1 year, depending on their policies. So we have to see when we approach. However, this is basically my understanding from the discussion that I had with several universities last week. So after that discussion, I decided to arrange another session where I will show you how to approach supervisor and how we are going to secure supervisor for you. So what Nafis and his team will do, Nafis and his team will start preparing documents, and when you start finding a supervisor, at least you need to have two documents on hand. One is your CV, a very good academic CV, and second thing is your proposal, research proposal, so that you can share it with the supervisor. And when supervisor gets to see your academic CV and your research proposal, it's likely that you get a response quickly. If the supervisor finds it suitable with his research interest, maybe she or he will instantly reply to you and tell you that, okay, fine, go ahead and mention my name. Or they can forward you to someone else. Maybe it is not their research interest, but they know one of their colleagues are working on that area. They may forward your email to them, and you get another response to an academic who you didn't directly contact. So this always happens. So it's quite normal in supervisor in approaching supervisors. So I will cover everything, and I will show the strategy. I will describe the strategy and how you are going to approach supervisors at different universities. So I will arrange that session next week. But before that, as I just mentioned, you need to have your proposal ready. You need to have your CV ready. So it is important that you complete these challenges first, so that we can come here and we start finding supervisors. For those universities where supervisors are not mandatory, we will apply for you there directly, and then we will start finding supervisors. And when we find supervisors, we will then let the admission team know that this particular supervisor agrees to supervise you. Then they will contact the supervisor and they will fast track your application. So these are all tricks and techniques that we are going to apply. We used to apply this for our PhD applicants, but now we are going to do it for research master's applicants as well. The fifth challenge, which is your SOP. This is really very important, and Nafis and his team has been spending a lot of time. I can see them working days and night on the SOPs, not only for the research students who we are mentoring, for our taught masters and undergrad students we are mentoring. So they have been heavily working on their SOPs. They're preparing their SOPs. Then the first draft of their SOP, they're giving them the SOP. They're addressing the feedback from the students. Once it is complete, they send it to me. I review it. Then they gather all the feedback, and then they talk to the students. Again, it's a long back and forth process, but it is totally worth it. Trust me. All the SOPs that Nafis and his team prepared so far, those students, they are getting offers from good universities relatively quickly. So please, without wasting any further delay, my request will be to talk to Nafis and start preparing your documents. I'm done here at the moment, so I'm going back to Nafis. And Nafis, maybe if you have any question, or if you receive any email from our applicants with questions, please share with me here. Otherwise, we will try to wrap it up.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Dr. Niaz. I mean, the things that you have shared, the insights, you have been sharing this with us as well, and this is quite insightful for us while we do. Actually, we are quite good at it, and we believe you have trained well, and now we have gained our experience and expertise to deal with students and help them to reach to their specific destination, and that's what gives us pleasure at this moment. So after our support team emailed the students, I have been receiving a couple of queries and questions over the email, And I would ask all the participants, all the watchers, to do the same. If you have any queries, just I'll leave the email address on the screen, and you guys can also send the queries over here, and we'll be sending you an email. My email is over there. So if you have any queries, if you have any specific queries, you can directly ask me over the email, and I'll make sure that it is addressed, and we'll find a solution after a proper discussion with my team. So I believe there are some questions that needed to be addressed. I think this is kind of common questions that most of the students usually have. So I'm just saying it out loud so that other people can get answered by the similar kind of questions. So the first question we have is, um, the student mentioned that he doesn't have any research background. Um, and will that be quite challenging for him to pursue a research master's? Will that be quite difficult? Will he have any exposure to research when he starts his journey? If you please answer this question, Dr. Nia.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Nafis, for your question. The answer to that question is, if the student wants to study a research master's, then it will not be a big problem, because the research master's course itself is a course that aim to prepare researchers for PhD, as you saw on one of my slides. So if the student doesn't have enough experience or enough research background, through that research masters they can gain that experience, they can gain that research background for PhD. Now you may ask me this question, that this is the research masters, at the end of the day they have to conduct research, and how they are going to do that. Well, universities, they will at least offer them some sort of support, particularly when any student, they when a student join a research master's course, the first thing that their supervisor will start to do is teaching them how to conduct research. So the research methodology, their supervisor will ask them to do study, ask them to start read research papers, and help them understand how they are going to conduct research. What are the types of methodologies, that and what kind of research they can do, what is a research hypothesis, what is a research question, all these things, what is called research interest, all these things. These are basically a very common thing that students who are not from a research background will encounter initially, and definitely they will feel overwhelmed, they will find it very difficult initially, but those supervisors are there to help them. So if it is for research masters, supervisors, they will think, they will assume that the students, they don't have huge research experience, so it is not going to be a problem. But without having any research background and any research connection, if someone wants to study a PhD, then it is going to be a big challenge, and if that happens, then they will be in trouble. So what I would suggest, even if they get an offer for PhD, and before they join their PhD, they should spend time to prepare themselves so that they can adapt to their PhD life at a later stage. On that note, I just like to add one thing. You already mentioned this in today's session, that I'm going to join a professional master's course in Oxford later this September. And this particular master's course is in education, and my background is in computer science, because I'm doing this master's because I'm working with an edtech institution, and I believe that I have some lacking that I need to overcome. And that's the reason why I'm joining Oxford for that master's, despite having a PhD degree. So when I got my offer, now Oxford, the course will start in September, and they gave me some materials, pre-reading materials, because they want all the students to be prepared for that masters. It is because they know that many students are coming from different backgrounds, and when we start reading education and educational policies, we need to study the background thing. We need to learn the background, and that's the reason they gave us all those pre-readings materials already. So I got my offer in March, and they sent me all those materials in March, whereas my course will start in September. So not all the universities will give our applicants this kind of opportunities. They will assume, for particularly those who are doing PhD, they will assume that the PhD applicants will have the enough research background and knowledge and experience, because that's the reason why they are applying for PhD. If any student, they don't have such experience or background or know-how, then my suggestion will be to do some self-study so that they can overcome that gap.
Right. So yes, on a follow-up question to that, I just want to know that one of the students wrote to us, how many papers do I need to read before writing a research proposal? Yeah.
Well, that's a very good question, and it's an open-ended question. So if you ask me this question, like how many papers I want to read to write a research proposal, maybe I will give a number, and if you ask this question to another person, and that person will give a totally a different number. So I'm not going to give a specific number. First of all, when someone is writing a research proposal, they need to understand that they must have some sort of background idea of what they are going to propose. So even Newton said we are actually building and learning and developing standing on the shoulder of giants. So even Newton himself, when he derived he proved the falling object theory, and that theory was actually given by Galileo. So when Galileo gave that theory, falling objects theory, Galileo didn't prove it, Newton proved it. Now, even Newton is considered possibly with Einstein, I would rather say, the most influential scientist in history. And he is saying that we are learning and developing standing on the shoulder of giants. What does it mean? It means you need to know the previous studies. You need to know what had already been explored, what other people already studied and already proposed. So when someone is writing a research proposal, they need to know the background. So some research proposal may require reading 10 to 15 articles, but some research proposals may require fewer articles. For example, someone is writing a research proposal on generative AI, and generative AI is relatively new technology, and someone is maybe writing a proposal like using generative AI to enhance inclusivity at school. For example, I'm just making it up. So now, if you try to read articles, I don't think you will get 15 articles on this topic. So if you go to Google Scholar, you try to read articles, you won't find 15 articles. But if you try an article like using blockchain technology to enhance supply chain management in Amazon, for example, or e-commerce. Now, the interesting part is, if you search on Google Scholar, you get like 100, 200, 300, 500 articles. So it depends on you how many articles you want to read, or it depends on you how many articles your proposal would demand you to read. So it varies. It's an open-ended question. That's why I'm asking. However, having said that, I would recommend at least 6 to 10 citations in the background, so that when you craft the background, you mention that this is basically a literature review I did for my proposal, then at least keep 6 to 10 articles there, so that someone is reading your literature review, your proposal, will get an understanding that, okay, this person already did some digging, and that's why he or she identified all these things. And now, after exploring all these things, this is basically a giant he identified, and he is now standing on the shoulder of that giant, and he is proposing this new thing that is a follow-up of all the works that he already identified. Is
Right,
that
makes
clear?
sense. Yes, that I think that really makes sense. Yeah, there's no specific numbers, but unless and until they keep on reading, when they find a fine line where they can convince the admission team or their desired professor to explain their idea and their research interest. So thank you very much. One more question regarding the visa status, and I think one of our participants also asked one of the similar questions. We have been receiving some of the questions that I'm currently studying in the UK. So should I go for PSW before going to the research masters? And if I go to PSW now, if I'm currently on PSW, if I finish my research masters, will I be able to get into PSW again? So these are the two questions I'm just
Mhm.
asking you at once. Yeah.
Okay, okay. First of all, if you have the option to go for graduate route visa, which is basically used to call PSW, now post study work, but now they have it, they named it graduate route visa. Uh, if you have the option to avail it now, then I would recommend you to avail it now. So you can move on to the graduate route visa, and you can have your graduate route visa for 2 years, and before your graduate route visa expires, you can join your research masters or PhD, and within that 2 years you will get the time to prepare yourself if you have to do a research masters or a PhD at a later stage. Or during that two years period, you can search for a skilled worker visa. You will have enough time, actually, I want to say, that you can think about it. You can think about your future. You can think about your planning, and you gain more experience about UK, more experience about UK life, and you can make better decision. The reason why I wouldn't recommend you to join research masters now, as you have already seen during my session today, that Home Secretary asked Professor Brian Bell, to give him a report by 15th of May 2024 whether or not the graduate route visa is being abused. So it's a warning that they may try to stop giving graduate route visa to all students. I think still some students will continue to get the visa, get the opportunity, and research master students will be one of them. But I do not want our applicant to get into that risk. So they can have their graduate route visa first, and then they can join their research masters or PhD, whatever they want to do. And another thing is, you cannot avail graduate route visa twice. So it is only once you can have it. So you can have it now, or you can have it after your research masters. So the only issue here is, if you have it now, you will get it for 2 years. Not likely, definitely you will get it for 2 years, unless you did your PhD. I'm pretty sure we don't have any applicant who already have a PhD. They are here to study PhD, apply for PhD or research masters. So definitely, if they are moving to graduate route visa, then they will get 2 years visa. If they complete their PhD, then they will get 3 years visa. So for PhD applicant, there is a benefit. They can actually get 3 years graduate route visa. If they have it now, if they have the graduate route visa now, they cannot move to the graduate route visa after their PhD. So that's basically the problem, that if you have now 2 years visa, you cannot get any other visa after your PhD. So this is kind of a tricky situation. Like, I would recommend them to stay risk free and take the graduate route visa and think about study later. But if they want to go for 3 year graduate route visa, that that they can only avail if they complete a PhD, then they can switch to a PhD. But if they are here to switch to a research master's after they are taught master's, then definitely, without any doubt, they should avail the graduate route visa first, and then they move to the research master's.
Right, right. Thank you. That is loud and clear that a student can only apply for PSW once, and I think this answers the question of a lot of our participants, and I think we have caught up with all the questions. And thank you very much.